place too where it's like a global supply chain or a global market. And I guess, do you think that we'll always be in this position, or like with like things like, there's probably more to unpack here, but things like war, like in Ukraine, like it seems like people would naturally start wanting to like nearshore like certain materials if they can. But how do we end up like in this like environment where everything is just because there's some goods from like Europe that maybe we don't make in the US and we want them over here, and China has cheaper goods, so maybe a lot of stuff sales from China. So is this kind of how we end up in this like global sort of economy like this?
So what changes is post World War II. So, I mean, we'd always been connected. You can always talk about the idea, well, we've been globalized since the Romans were trading with, the Han Dynasty. And yeah, that's true. There is, you have the Marco Polos, you find the Chinese coins at Pompeii. So, you always find that evidence of it, but it's not large scale. It's not big. Where it changes is post World War II with two events, I would argue. Number one is a guy by the name of Malcolm McLean comes up with the idea of the container. A truck driver from Maxton, North Carolina, comes up with this idea. It's like, man, we move cargo badly. It's just inefficient. It's slow. It's bulky. Ships spend more time in ports than they do at sea. This is a problem. And he comes up with the idea of the intermodal container, the idea that you can pack a shipping container, seal it, throw it on the back of a truck or a train, put it on a ship, and then sail it across the ocean and do the exact reverse. And that just magnifies the amount of cargo that you can move, while at the same time just bottoming out the cost to do that. It just becomes phenomenally cheaper to do that. And even when we start talking about freight rates a few years ago, pre-COVID, you were talking about maybe $2,000 to ship a container across the Pacific. Even at the height of COVID, when you're talking about $20,000 a box to go across, if you think about it, if you got a phone, how many phones can you put into a 40-foot by 8.5 by 8-foot container? And even if the cost is $20,000 to ship it, what's that unit transportation cost that's there? It's almost nothing.